Anyone got a pencil? Hello and welcome to the Mixtape podcast. My name's Mark and I am your host. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Every week on the show, I ask my guests to make up an imaginary mixtape and pick 6 tracks for it. I've had some incredible chats. They're already there in the archives, just waiting for you to stumble across them. I've had chats with Steve Kilby from The Church, Rowetta from The Happy Mondays, Rick from Ash. I've had Al Anderson, one of the original Wailers. I've had Clint Boone from Your Spiral Carpets. I've had Donita Sparks from L7. I've had Scott Kirkland from The Crystal Method. There's lots and lots of episodes sitting there waiting for you to discover. If you enjoy this week's episode, please feel free to rate it 5 stars on Spotify and or jump up to the top of the page and hit that old follow or subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time there is a new episode. Catch up with everything I'm doing by going to www.themixtapepodcast.com. That's enough for the intro. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hello and welcome to this week's podcast, and also for KCR 102.5 FM. And I'm delighted to welcome Melody Paul to the show. How are you, Melody?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Great to be chatting to you. I'm really stoked you made the time to come on and have a chat. So your new single, Fantasy Girl, is out now. Tell us a little bit about the single and your songwriting process and, you know, some of the sort of inspirations behind the song.
Well, I kind of just started writing it originally because I was trying to teach myself piano and trying to get some different sounds in my head. I guess sometimes when I get locked into a tuning on guitar, I tend to just end up, I feel like I write the same song over and over. So I was just trying to learn a bit of piano and trying to unlock a few different chord progressions. And I was also in this stage where I was really wanted to get back into playing music live and recording music. And I was on this sort of, you know, unending break from music. And I felt like, you know, content-wise, it was about feeling like I was fantasizing about doing that, but also the fantasy was heaps easier than actually taking action to do it. So I kind of wanted to stay in the fantasy a little bit.
It's like the precursor to maybe some more material we're going to get from your EP or maybe a full-length album.
I've got a full-length album that's going to come out about mid-year.
Okay, awesome.
So that's not too far off, and I think that we will do a few more singles as well.
Mm-hmm. Any chance of you getting across to Perth for a show or two?
I hope so. I was there in March. I did Nan Up in March and then did a show at the Rosemount.
Yeah.
But all my family's in Perth, so I'm over there pretty often. And usually when I'm over there, I try and tee up a show as well, just to make the most of actually being.
I love the Rosemount. It's one of my favourite venues.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good one. From a gig goer's point of view, though, it's a nightmare logistically. Like when you're in there and it's packed, trying to get a beer, it's a nightmare because the bar like runs down the whole right hand side of the venue, right? And it's just when I've been in there when it's been like full like capacity, I just I just go, do you know what? I'll have a drink at the end of the gig because it's just too hard. I'd rather
Lucas Rock show would be full on.
Oh, I saw L7 there, and that was full on. I get a lot of interviews through Metropolis Touring, and they always go through the Rosemount when they come to Perth. So I get a lot of guest spots. I've seen loads of bands there. I've seen the Charlatans there and Spiral Carpets and loads of bands like that. It's a great venue, but it's got a few like it's a bit annoying sometimes. You get behind that big concrete pillar in the middle, it's like forget about it. It's like you always see like there's no one standing in that little line behind that pillar because you can't see what's going on stage. If it's a full band, it's not too bad because you can see other stuff. But if it's a solo artist, you know, like yourself, you just can't see. All you can see is just empty stage left and right. So no one gets
really unlucky to get that spot.
Absolutely, yeah. You walk in, you think, why is no one standing there? And then you stand there and you look at the stage and you go, oh yeah, I know why. And you got a few shows coming up next week supporting Ella Hooper. Is that right?
Oh yeah, I'm on tour with Ella at the moment. She's one of my dear friends as well, and it's been really fun. Kind of getting to do shows together again, but mainly just getting to catch up and gas bag and have time together, which we never do. So we got some Victorian shows together.
Yeah. And I saw you're in Alice Springs as well with her. Is that right?
Yes. I've never played in Alice Springs either, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, I've never even been there. So I've been to Darwin a few times. I go there for my day job quite often, but I've never been to Alice. So I'd like to. It's on the list one day. And it's melodypaul.com.au for all the info, tickets, download links, and all that kind of stuff to where people can catch up with you.
That's the one.
Awesome. Okay, let's drop into your mixtape choices then, Melody. Some cracking tracks on there. So when I make up a mixtape or a playlist, as you know, is quite often now these days, I like to go in with like an attention grabber, one to kick it off in good style. And what did you pick for that?
I picked Light Flight by Pentangle.
Mm, yeah,
Which it was interesting when you messaged today and you said love a bit of Pentangle. Not many people
yeah.
say that when I
I know,
mentioned
I know. Yeah,
Pentangle.
yeah. They're not that. I was going to get you to sort of, elaborate a little bit on who they are, and because I would
Yeah,
say maybe a little bit of something of a super group.
bit of like folk, traditional folk slash jazz slash prog group from the late 60s, early 70s. But actually, I think they have still continued to do gigs.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
know Jackie McShee still does gigs.
yeah,
Um, and they released some cracking records. Basket of Light is my favorite,
mm,
which Light Flight is off of. And
yeah.
actually, I've been looking for the vinyl for
I was
years.
going to
And
say to you, I've got that on
found it,
vinyl. I've got that on
I found
vinyl.
it the other day and
Yeah,
I was so broke. I had no
yeah.
money. I turned to my partner, Chris, in the shop and I was like, oh my God, I found it. And he's like, it's okay, I'll get it for you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
It
the
was
kind of part you're looking for.
so good. It just scratches all the right little itches in my
Yeah,
brain. This song, it's
yeah,
got
yeah,
like her beautiful pure voice. It's got like traditional
yeah.
folk elements that sound almost medieval, but it's also really interesting with the timing and
Mm,
the time signatures. And yeah,
yeah.
I love
I'm a big Danny Thompson fan, so
it.
that sort of where they came up on my radar a good few years ago. Astral Weeks is my all-time favorite albums, and he obviously plays on that. So that's how they popped up on my radar. But I used to have like a vinyl like record side hustle, and I picked that up one day, and it was a real like it was one of them where I just go, I could flip this for like 50, $60, I think it was at the time. But I was like, yeah, it's a good record though. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you got to keep it. It's
Oh,
like
let
that.
it go.
I'm
My
doing this
friend
to make
owns
money, and I just end up with a massive record collection and make no money out of it.
My friend owns a record store. One of our besties, his name's Ben Leese. He owns Rudderless Records in Newcastle here
Oh
in
yeah, yeah,
New South Wales. And he found two Pentangle records for me. And he was like, I'll put them aside. And I was like, oh, do you have Basket of Light? And he's like, no, I'm so sorry. Next time, if it comes in, I'll put it aside for you.
yeah,
Haven't been able to find it anywhere. And then I couldn't
yeah,
believe it. My show in Melbourne, I just walked into a
yeah,
record store. It's the first thing I
yeah,
found.
yeah. I did put feelers out there in the Perth sort of vinyl community when I picked it up. I was like, oh, any interest in this? And I just got just like inundated with
Oh,
people chasing it. But I
yeah,
decided to keep it in the end because it's such a good record.
it's
And like you
so
say,
good.
you don't come across it that often. It's quite an
No,
hard one. The
no.
original press is quite an hard one to get. Yeah, love that. Pentangle, Basket of Lights, the album, and
Yeah.
Light Flight is the track that Melody chose. For track two, Melody, I asked you to pick a song that you'd sing when you're on your own in the car or the shower. What did you pick for that?
The Sound of Music,
Yeah,
or I Have Confidence from the Sound of Music soundtrack
yeah,
by Julie Andrews, mainly because it's just the truth. That's what I will put on in
yeah,
the car if I'm.
yeah,
It's like not really a guilty pleasure because I think it's fabulous, but I grew up like there's tape of me singing those songs when I was 3 years old,
yeah,
and
right, yeah,
and especially like I Have Confidence when it says, when you're on your own in the car. I used to work just before COVID hit. I was working teaching art at a maximum security men's prison in Cessnock.
right,
And my first ever day that I went there, I was so nervous on my way.
okay.
And I just played I Have Confidence the
Psych
entire
yourself
time.
up.
Sang that song the entire way to my first day at the jail.
Brilliant. That's a fantastic story. And how did it go? Did you go across well in the prison?
Yeah, it was heaps of
Yeah,
fun. It
yeah,
was great.
awesome.
I just
Yeah,
like, I don't know, it was a really strange time, but I really enjoyed the work.
mm,
And I mean, I felt like I learnt more from them than they did from
mm.
me. So
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
sure,
pretty
sure.
cool.
Yeah. Okay. And track three, the melody is I've asked you to pick a cover version. What did you pick for that?
It's a bit of a weird cover because I guess it I picked Wichita Lineman by Glenn Campbell, which kind of feels like it should be the it's not like it's not a cover, but
Yeah, yeah,
Jimmy
yeah,
Webb wrote it and he recorded it, and his version
yeah,
is amazing too, just him on
yeah.
piano.
Yeah.
But that song, any kind of list, I can't go past it. Another one that scratches all the itches in my brain because
Mm,
it's
Yeah.
something so magic about all their string parts and stuff in that cover
I had the
version.
note for that was the strings on that is amazing on the Glenn
Oh,
Campbell version. It's incredible, isn't it? Yeah, I love that.
so amazing.
Fantastic track. Yeah, it's been really well. It's one of them songs that gets covered a lot. I think that one. I know recently there's an American sort of soul band called the Black Pumas. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Oh
them.
yeah.
They covered it. And there's an English sort of indie band called Gomez from the sort of 90s and early 2000s,
Yeah.
and they did the Radio One Live Lounge I think once, and they did it, and he's got an incredible deep like gravelly voice, that singer, and that's an amazing version as well. Yeah, there's tons of covers
Oh,
of that.
yeah.
I'll maybe send you some links after when we finish chatting,
Yeah, I'd love to
because
see the
that's a really
Gomez
good, it's a really good venue, a really good version. But yeah, it is what we talk a lot on the show about cover versions. It's one of my favourite sort of categories to chat about, and
one.
like you say, with that one, it does put enough on it, like yeah, because it's so popular as well. Be like it's similar way to Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah and
Yeah.
Hendrix all along the Watchtower. Like you would never know that that's not the original version,
Yeah, that's right.
um,
I
because
think
it's so good.
it's so good, and the way it's performed too, it's like there's such conviction, and
Mm.
like there's something to say about the performance of those artists doing it as well that
Yeah,
really own
absolutely.
it.
Yep, yep. Okay, track four melody, and this is one of my favourite ones to ask because it gives you good insight into the person. Track four is a song you wish you could have played to your 18-year-old self. What did you go with there?
I went with Chimicum Rain by Linda Perhacs, which is a bit of
Mm,
an obscure album. First track off her album Parallelograms, and it's my favorite album of all time.
mm.
I love that record. She has an amazing story too. This one, I actually struggled with this one the most, I think, because I I kept thinking of songs that I wanted my 18-year-old self to hear, and I thought my 18-year-old self would have just shrugged that off and not even listened to that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And so I knew I
yeah.
needed something pretty. And
Mm,
Chimica Rain, I think, like, it's been such a huge inspiration to me over the last few years, this record and that song, and such incredible vocals and layers, and talking about nature and being able to like express about nature in a way that's not corny, because sometimes songs about nature can feel a little
yeah,
bit like, yeah, just like they don't hit the mark. But she really, the way that she describes, like water on leaves and rocks and lichen, and it's really interesting. And I think that I would have liked my 18-year-old self to hear something and hear how exploratory music could be in that way.
yeah. Incredible story as well. Like
Yeah,
I did a bit of research because I've not heard of her. Yeah, amazing. Like the album came out, I think 1970, you said,
yeah,
and then she died. She didn't sell any, and went back to being a dental hygienist.
yeah,
And then it got reissued like a few years later, and she put more records out. And I think she's a musician full
yeah.
time now.
I think it's
Amazing
like
story.
2013. It was like the
Mm,
resurgence of this
yeah,
album. She spent her whole life being a dental hygienist.
yeah.
And
And it's
like,
been resampled as well by quite a lot of people. I
yeah.
reckon. I think. Yeah, yeah,
And did you hear the crazy story? Maybe I'll go into it more because I added another Linda Perhacs song in my
yeah,
mixtape.
yeah.
But there's a really amazing story about that song as well.
When we talk a bit, we'll get into it after when we
Yeah.
get to your track six. But there's a record label called Light in the Attic Records who do a very similar thing. They dig up records that are amazing but did nothing first time around. Yeah, so we'll talk a bit about that when we get to track
Oh,
six, because that's
okay.
another Linda Perhacs track as well. Okay, and track five, a song you would put on your mixtape to let the listener know you were romantically interested. What did you pick for that?
I picked You Have Loved Enough by Leonard
Mhm.
Cohen
Yeah,
off 10 New Songs.
yeah,
One of my favorite Leonard Cohen record, maybe my favorite Leonard Cohen
mm,
record, which is really strange because it's like all MIDI, like all the instruments are MIDI instruments. And
yeah,
maybe there's one guitar or something that's not.
yeah, yeah,
And I think Sharon Robinson produced that whole record
yeah,
and she
yeah.
sings on it.
I was
And
going to
it's
say, did you know the female vocal is on that track? Because I wasn't
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
her. And she produced the whole record and she's singing through a lot of that album as well. And she did all the grooves, like she did everything on MIDI. And I don't know how it's like these strange loops that are just so groovy, like without
Mm,
a, yeah, it's so good. But that song especially has some of, I don't know, just the most heart melting lyrics.
mm.
It's love that chooses me. Like
Yeah, yeah.
very
I
beautiful.
don't think you can go past Leonard Cohen in terms of
No,
lyricist. Yeah, he's up there. He's got to be one of the greatest lyricists of all time, I would say. Has that have you ever made up a mixtape, or has that ever worked for you? Someone making up a mixtape with some tracks on. Has that ever wooed you, or have you ever wooed anyone?
I think when me and Chris got together, we not so much made a mixtape, but we used to share songs, and he introduced me to Pentangle. He was like,
Oh,
"You
right,
should
okay.
listen to this
Yeah,
song, Light Flight."
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
um, I reckon I probably tried to make some flirty mixtapes when I was a
yeah.
teenager or something, but I don't think that they would have gone down that way. That was way too awkward. I was probably too shy to even give them to anybody.
Yeah, I asked that question to someone once. I can't remember who it was now. I think it was Trent. It was Trent from Last Quacko, who were like a Perth punk band. And I asked him that question, and he was like, "Yeah," he said, "I made loads up, but I never gave them to anyone. So I
Yeah.
just used to make them up, and then I just used to never had the balls to give them out." Yeah, it was hilarious. Okay, that's it. And is a song that's maybe a little bit obscure, something, a B-side or album track, something you don't think gets the sort of kudos that it deserves, and you picked another Linda Perhacs
I
track, the
did.
title
I
track.
picked
Yeah.
another Linda Perhacs one. I mean, I think she's obscure anyway,
Mhm.
altogether, that whole album.
Yeah.
But this is Parallelograms, the song that the
Mhm.
is the title track of the album. And it's so wild. Like it's partly this beautiful, trancey sort of folk tune that's
Mhm.
just sings this refrain over and over again. And then halfway through, it goes into what my partner calls bongo fury because it just
I was
like,
going to talk to you about that bit.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, go
because
on,
it goes into this like really strange ambient thing, but it starts
yeah.
with this like, and
Yeah.
he listening to it once when he was walking the dog and he had it up really loud. He'd never heard it before in
When
his
he
ears.
jumped. Yeah.
And he said he dropped the dog's lead and yelled out loud because he didn't know what was going on. And
That's
so
brilliant.
it's so hilarious. And it's got such a great story because I've got to check, I think it's Leonard Rosenbaum, who was one of her clients, and he is the composer for, I think, like Planet of the Apes.
Mhm.
And he said to her, "What do you do, Linda? What do you do in your spare time?" And she's like, "I write little songs." And he was like, "I'd like to hear some of them." And she played them to him. And he was like, "You're incredible. And I think you've got a lot of potential, but you're really green and you need some musical education."
Mm.
And so he invited her over to his house, and he and his wife just sat her down for like 8 hours and went through like centuries worth of music from
Wow.
classical music
Yeah.
right until their modern music, and tried to give her this musical education in 8 hours. And she's like, I swear there was no drugs involved. I just had to listen the
Yeah.
entire time. And on my way,
Yeah.
and she said she was driving on her way home and she was on a bridge and she had to pull over because she looked in the sky and there were all these lights going in the sky, which she thinks is like, I think it's kind of like that, what would they call it, synesthesia or something, when you can sort of see music.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah, 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 yeah,
but
yeah,
she
yeah,
pulled
yeah.
over and she was drawing this thing that she saw in the sky. And that's the middle of the song, is that it was like she said
Right. Okay.
all the yellow high parts were all the high bits and all the blue parts were the low parts. And she kind of like had this whole picture in her mind, which
Mm.
she actually drew in color and
Wow.
then translated into song. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Pete Townsend from The Who telling a similar story when he was a child about that similar sort of vision. And yeah, but yeah, I googled her and she came up as psychedelic folk, and I was like, okay. And I played the first track, Shimmick and Rain, and that's quite sort of straight up sort of traditional sort of
Yeah.
folk. So I was like, I'm not sure where they get the psychedelic bit from. And then I listened to that track, and then like you say, boom,
Yeah.
halfway through, it just takes off into this like psychedelic sort of freak out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she
Yeah.
just like without missing a beat, she just dropped straight back into the
Right back
gentle
into the
acoustic.
folk
Like, yeah,
song.
yeah, it's great.
Finish it
Yeah, yeah.
off. It's so magic.
I was
Um,
when I was reading up on her and I read her story, I was looking for Light in the Attic Records to be in somewhere in her bio, because they do that very same thing. That's what they specialize in. They do put out other bands and stuff, but they specialize in digging up stuff that didn't do anything first time around and then reissuing it. And there's a movie which I think you'll love. I don't think I've watched it, but I streamed it dodgily. Cut that out. But it's called, the movie's called Dreaming Wild, and that's the name of the album. And it's the story of Donnie and Joe Emerson, who were two brothers who worked on a farm in like Midwest America, population 700 town. And they just used to drive their dad's tractor around all day and listen to the radio in the tractor. And they started learning instruments, and they're like 13 and 16 or 17 years old or something. They started playing and writing and rehearsing, and their dad, for some reason, just really backed them. And they said, we want to do some recording. And and remember, this is the 70s, right? He remortgaged his farm for $100,000
God.
for recording equipment and state of the art. Built them a whole studio in a barn on their farm, and
Wow.
they recorded this album called Dreaming Wild. They pressed like 10,000 copies of the record, and they sold about 10 because he had all the the studio and everything done, but there was no, like, as we need to have marketing and
Yeah.
promo, and they
Yeah.
sold about 10 to their friends, and like that was it, and it died. And Donny Emerson sort of went on and got a job, and he ran a recording studio in like the next nearest town. Joe Emerson stayed and sort of helped out on the family farm, which is what he still does now. And then some, and the album, I've got it, I should have brought it to show you, but the album is them in like two white Elvis jumpsuits, and they're like these two awkward looking spotty teenagers on the front cover. And I think he's a writer or a blogger or something, picked it up in an antique store in Washington for like $5, was interested at the cover and sort of gave it a play, and was absolutely blown away by how good it was. And he started writing about it and spruiking it, to all his friends, and it just sort of built like that. And then a band whose name has gone right out the top of my head did a cover version of one of the songs called Baby from the album. And it just started gathering pace. And then Light and Yachty Records came along and sort of wanted to reissue it. And then they went on tour. You knew they were in the New York Times, but they'd done nothing for like 40 years, just working on the farm, just bumming around. The movie's called Dreaming Wild. Casey Affleck plays Donny Emerson,
Yeah.
and Walton Goggins plays Joe Emerson, and Bo Bridges plays their dad. It's an incredible movie. Like, I love a story like that where it's like,
Yeah.
the underdog story where you it takes 40 years, but you get where you want to
Well,
be. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's an
amazing.
amazing story. And
Yeah.
the reason I got that was because Diesel, Diesel, the
Yeah.
singer songwriter, he picked that for his track Six, Baby by Donny and Joe Emerson,
Right.
and he got me into it like that. And then, bugger me, the very next podcast was with a Perth band called Space Ahead, and they picked another Light in the Attic Records reissue, which was Lewis, and the album's called L'Amour, and that's an even crazier story. So I tried to get Donny Emerson, the real Donny Emerson, on the podcast. He said yes, but then he's being cagey about dates and times. So I was like, oh, maybe, maybe not. Sometimes you don't want to hassle people too much. I'm trying to
Yeah.
get someone from Light and Yachty Records to come on as well. But what they do and their mission is it's incredible, because they don't do it to make money. Like, they
Yeah.
just want to bring the music to people. Do you know what I mean? And that's,
Amazing.
like with the mixtape, that's what I'm trying to do. Do you know what I mean? Is
Yeah.
just bring
Yeah.
new music to people. So that's why I like that track Six, because it unearths like amazing stuff, like Linda
Totally.
Perhacs and stuff like that. But the Lewis story is off the charts. I'll send you a link to his
Yeah,
Wikipedia because
do.
it was
I'd love
nuts.
to. I'm so
And
interested.
the
It's amazing.
album's called L'Amour, and there's a song on it called "I'd Like to See You Again," and it's just one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. It's just vocal and piano, and he was just like this stockbroker who just blew into town with a supermodel girlfriend, did a photo shoot. His check bounced for the photo shoot. He went in the studio, recorded some songs, and disappeared, and was never seen again. But the album was just incredible. I think
I know.
last time I read, the Light and Yachty Records were putting his royalties in just in escrow for whenever he turns up and goes, yeah,
Oh
that's my record.
my God.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's
Oh,
unreal. Yeah, so I'll send you a link for that
yeah, I'd
as
love
well,
to
because
read
you'll
that.
enjoy that. I'll shoot it to you after we finish
Yeah.
talking on the email. So, future plans, Melody. What have you got coming up? Obviously, we spoke briefly about the album and the tour. Is that what you're sort of focusing on for the rest of the year?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to try and release some more singles, release the album, do a tour off the back of the album, and then just kind of, I don't know, like see what it brings.
See where
I'm
it goes.
so
Yeah.
happy with it. I love the record. It's my favorite thing I've ever made. And yeah, my goal is really just to get it into as many ears as possible.
Yep, yep. Okay. On that note, Melody, I can't wait to see you next time we're in Perth. I'll definitely
Thank you.
come and
That'd
see
be
you.
awesome.
Good luck with the record and the record and everything, and the tour and everything. I'm sure it'll be a raging success. Take care, and I'll see you
Thank
later.
you so much. Thanks, Mark.
See ya.
Bye.
That was the Mixtape podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to jump up to the top of the page and smash that follow button, and you'll be notified every time there's a new episode. Or follow me on Instagram at the Mixtape Perf. Till the next time.